Good morning. Beautiful spring day. Bit chilly still. We've got an easterly wind coming in from the North Sea. I've checked a few of my trees and the wire is beginning to bite, so let's get it removed from this hawthorn. Now, one of the key things when you're unwiring, when you're removing wire, is you can't just check the end of the branch, because most of the scarring is going to happen in here where the movement's really a sort of a maximum. So if any scarring is going to have happened, it'll be in here. And there's a little bit, not a lot, perfect. It's just beginning to bite with some very minor lines. So that's the right time for it to come off. Here, you can see a little line there. So, magic. While I'm taking the wire off this, it's worth mentioning the actual tree I'm working on. I've got a lot of trees of this kind of style. I put the main bend in with some wire last year. I'm slowly developing the branches. And I'm anticipating this to be the new leader. So I'll probably chop this at some time later this year. What I have noticed is I've got two branches down here coming from the same point. So these are my two branches, and I prefer this one that's coming towards me than this one at the back. So it's really just a question. Remove that, and there is a small one lower down, so perfect. Next up, we've got a nice silver birch. It was a collected material. It's got some nice taper. I took the main leader off here, so this is slowly healing up, and these branches were all wired. I did this all over the winter, sort of December time. So what's that? January, February, March, April. Sort of 4 to 5 months. And some of this wire is already beginning to bite in, so I'm just going to check that it's not doing too much damage. Now, as you can see in this shot, there is some wire damage from last year's wiring, which I did leave on a bit long. So I'm just checking that this wire no, that isn't scarring the tree at all. That's last year's wiring. I've seen this line here and I thought that was this wire doing it, but it wasn't. So this tree's fine and there's no need to take the wire off. It's still doing a job. And I'm happy with that curve. I don't want to try and straighten this branch up, so no need to do anything more on this. So I've just been and checked some of my other birch and they're all fine. None of them are marking yet. No other hawthorns are. So with me checking that first tree last night, I thought, oh no, all my trees are going to be scarring, but that's not the case. But I found this one, and this definitely needs to come off. And this is a squamata juniper. Again, you know what I'm like by now with the names. Is it a blue Alps? Could be a blue Alps or a blue something. But it was a bit smaller than this when I bought it last year, and I got this in the reduced section of a local garden centre. I grew it for the year. I added some good movement with the wire, and it kind of just sat there and did its thing. And then I keep going back to it and adding bits more wire and things, and I'm quite pleased with it. So it's developing quite a nice shape to it. It's got good branching coming out in sort of the right places. It is leaning back, so perhaps that will end up being the front, leaning towards a view, or more likely, because I do like this view, I'll end up just replanting it more like that. But for now, I need to get this wire off. As I uncoil this wire from here, I think you're going to be able to see the scarring. Oh yes, it's not so bad on a juniper. It doesn't really matter. It kind of can even add character, but I'm not a fan of heavily scarred trees. So even this fairly kind of mildish scarring is enough. I wouldn't want any more. So it's put some lovely growth on already this spring. The buds are coming out really healthily, and the wire was on long enough for it to really hold its shape. So to be honest, it's not the kind of tree that really makes me go, yeah, you know. It's a little bit bonsai-y, if you know what I mean. You know, I prefer, I suppose, a more naturalistic approach, and you don't see too many trees in this shape. Some people might think I'm crazy, but you know, I almost think by cutting it off here, and maybe it might be a bit more interesting, but you know, I'm happy with how it's going, and let's get it watered. So before I wrap this video up, I've got one more tree to show you. It's a beech, one of my first trees. That's why it's in a plastic kind of training pot. I soon moved on from these to washing up bowls. The contortion in the trunk, it's a bit too much for me. It's a bit too heavy. So I'm going to take the wire off, and I'm not actually bothered if the branches straighten out a little bit, because I think I went a bit over the top with the styling. And in certain areas it's just beginning to bite in, and you don't want to scar a beech because beech don't really heal. So it's time to get this wire off. So I know I've heard people on bonsai videos talking about not enjoying this kind of task. I really enjoy it. I think it's really relaxing. I think it brings you into the present moment, which is a key part of bonsai for me. Practicing presence. You know, not thinking about things, just doing. Enjoying doing what I'm doing. You know, not thinking of the goal, or certainly not thinking of anything else outside of bonsai. And if you can practice that, I find it a really enjoyable thing to do. Maybe it's just that I've not done enough of it. And also, perhaps some of the people saying it are doing it for a living, and it becomes just a job and a chore. I sometimes see people and I kind of feel a little bit sad, when something like bonsai can become maybe not what it was for somebody. It's one of the reasons I love Greenwood studio videos, because Corin has got a real passion for bonsai. You can tell, even though he does it for a living, you can see the passion that he's got for his trees. And the same with Peter Chan. You know, they love experimenting, they love doing the work, they've got their own trees just for their own personal love of it, and I love to see that. I used to have a photography landscape YouTube channel that did quite well. I had, you know, a couple of thousand subscribers, and it was all going fast. I was getting a lot of views, and it was popular, getting quite popular really, and it started taking away from what I loved about bonsai. From what I loved about landscape photography. Instead of being out there doing my landscape photography, enjoying nature and the experience, I found myself busy recording videos and talking to camera and doing all, and I couldn't enjoy the photography at the same time, and so I stopped doing it. I've not done a video in years on that channel. But with bonsai, it's a little different, because I find that I can combine working on these trees with recording video, and I still enjoy doing both. It's recording this video and talking about my trees it's not detracting from my enjoyment of my bonsai work like the landscape photography was. So I think you do better at something that you really enjoy doing. And I was never particularly passionate about my landscape photography YouTube channel in the way that I'm seeming to be about my bonsai one. And I've got some quite big groups on Facebook that I kind of have run for many years, and they're all landscape photography groups. I think one's got 11,000 members, another's got 10,000 or something like that. I've probably got access to 20 or 30,000 people, and I could quite easily share my bonsai channel on those pages, and quite a lot of people would subscribe to my channel. I probably easily, I mean at the moment I've got 50 odd subscribers, 60 odd subscribers. I could quite easily get a few hundred, no problem. But I don't want to do that. I want to make videos for people who are interested in bonsai, not for people who are just subscribing to me because they know of my photography. So I didn't even share I've not even shared it on my Facebook or anything, this channel, because it's not about getting loads of subscribers and views and all that stuff. It's just enjoyable for me. That's why I'm doing it. And I enjoy rambling on, talking like this. You probably don't enjoy it so much. You're probably thinking, oh, she'd shut up. What? And you might also be thinking, why am I watching a middle-aged bloke taking wire off a tree? And that's a good question. What's the answer? Tell me the answer in the comments. I love it when people comment on my videos and I can answer, you know, reply to them and discuss bonsai stuff, you know, and why is it you do what you do? I had me breakfast this morning, Cocoa Pops, watching Peter Chan, who was talking about Deshojo maples, and nice way to start the day after I'd done my Wordle. All the wires nearly off now, off this tree. What a great way to spend a bit of time. I think the secret's taking your time with it as well, and as I said before, not seeing it as a chore, seeing it as something enjoyable, which I do. I actually recorded a video a bit about philosophy and I didn't end up putting it together because when I kind of listened to it I thought, phew, it's a bit pretentious, that. So I'll just slowly drip feed you my philosophy in these videos. I've been very careful doing this, obviously not to damage these buds on this beech. They're just about coming out. They'll be in leafing. They'll probably be in leaf in a few days, these. So I've been careful to just, you know, certainly not damage them. And that's the last piece. So it's an interesting tree, this. As I say, it was one of my first. It's got major problems in that it's very, very flat. It's got that, because I was just first starting out and I was like, oh, that's a good branch, that's a branch, that's a branch, that's a branch, following the kind of principles of having branches either side. There's no depth to it at all. There's no branches at the back. Hopefully, oh, actually, saying that, there's a perfectly placed bud there, which is going to come out here, and that's going to create some depth at the back, and that's massively needed. So I'm really happy about that. Apart from that, I'll just leave it again to grow, and thanks for joining me. It's been one of those strange kind of videos today where I've just been sort of picking up trees that needed some wire taking off and having a bit of a, just enjoying taking the wire off and looking at a few of my potential bonsai. I hesitate to call them bonsai, really, a lot of them, because they're just young saplings, really. But it's been nice. Thanks for joining me as always. I appreciate it, and I'll see you on my next video.